All right, guys, we're still getting set up in here. We should be going live here shortly. All right. Is there an on button on it? I can hear on my sides.
Good morning, everyone. Just trying to get the last things put together here. We'll be starting shortly. You can hear the remote mic if someone on the Zoom call can wait that.
Are you able to hear us online? If so, can you wave?
They're not hearing us online. She's on her way back in. They're able to hear us, but it's really low and echoey. Just so we can have
How about now? Can you hear now?
Test 1, 2.
All right, thank you.
Yes, I can hear.
I can hear well.
All right, good morning, everyone. Just before we get started here, just a brief announcement, a couple of quick things. I have a hard call coming in around 11. I guess that by that time we'll all probably be ready for a break. But if the timing's not good, Owen will go ahead and step in and take over the meeting for me while I have to step out. I apologize in advance. Also, I'd like to introduce Robbie, sitting to my right. She's our staffing coordinator that runs our Lake Havasu office and graciously agreed to come along today just to see what it's all about. So with that, I'll call the order of the meeting for the Mojave La Paz Workforce Development Board. And you could all stand and join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. Thank you. All right, Rachel, if I could get a roll call, please.
Joe Thornberry,
Present.
Anthony Soto.
Present.
He's online. Olin Wafer, Alan Bell, Jean Bishop, Matt Brewster, all right, Matt is present. He just walked in the door. Lisa Brownfield, Vicky De La Reyes, John Deemer, Gary Kellogg, Kirk Lacey,
Present.
I believe he's still out of state.
I showed him as in attendance online.
Oh, great.
I'm here.
Let me see if he's still on.
Can you hear me?
I also have Lisa online. I have Kirk online as well. Craig Lefevre,
Here.
So it appears that we're not being able to hear the audio because people are actually speaking and we're not getting the audio through from the Zoom.
let's see. All right, Craig, can you try speaking? I want to see if it works now.
Testing. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Hello.
Still not quite working.
Nope.
I can hear him.
Oh,
I can hear you, Craig, but I'm online as well.
All right, Tommy, I hear you now, so we're good.
Okay.
So we can hear inside. Shauna Marshall, Regina Martinez, Dana Miner,
Here.
Mark Ullman,
Yeah,
Kristen
I'm here.
Ott. Good morning. Kenda Robinson, Davy Spurlock,
I'm present.
Tammy Ursenbach, Lisa Van Ella, Drew Wagner,
Here.
Amy West. We have a quorum.
Thank you. I know that Tammy Ursenbach will be joining. She had sent an email right before the meeting started. All right, thank you very much. All right, so our first thing this morning is going to be a presentation of Atlas program. And Rachel, I'll turn that over to you to get. Do you have the slides or is Jody presenting? Perfect.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to present today. My name is Jody Toner. I'm the Senior Workforce Project Manager with the CTS Atlas team. Just to share a little bit about my background, I have 31 years of direct service provider experience. I've been on board with the Atlas team about 8 months, so I came out of 2 Metro Regional Workforce Boards, so I definitely have a passion for all the work that you do to serve your counties and as board members for your volunteer capacity that you're serving for both Mojave and La Paz County. So again, thank you for the opportunity today. If you'll hit the next slide for me, Rachel. A little bit about our company. We've been in business for 24 years. It's a locally business operated out of Florida. It's a woman-owned family business. They are in the IT and workforce development business of providing intelligent workforce automation. They deliver innovative, custom, tailor-made solutions. And what I mean by that is nothing that's provided by our organization is an off-the-shelf product. We take pride in working with regional workforce boards to identify gaps in services, pain points, and then work to create innovative custom solutions to meet your needs. Our products are based off of Atlas, and the acronym Atlas stands for Automated Tracking, Linking, and Archiving Solutions. Our #1 priority is helping you take care of your customers, and all of our products and services are developed with that in mind. You know, that user interface, what the customer experience is, as well as your staff, and how we can make things automated, streamlined to connect and deliver exceptional services. If you'll hit the next slide. I would like to share with you a unique aspect with our company, unlike many other, developers or software companies out there. When we work with our customers, we offer customization at no charge. And so we really want to facilitate movement of the system as a whole. So we love strategizing and brainstorming. But if your team has, 10 or 100 custom requests as we do business, with your region, there is no additional cost for that because we see it as a win to the workforce development system as a whole. For purposes of Mojave County, we've entered into agreement for our Atlas Core services, for our one-stop operator partner portal, and for our eligible training provider, our ETPL portal. So I'm going to share a little bit about with you today on those particular services. And as we work to implement these, we've been working with Director Smith and Sarah over the past few months. You're going to quickly realize your ROI by maximizing the technology in our cloud-based systems. If you'll hit the next slide. This slide represents our Atlas Core services. There are 9 unique functions. Those functions start with customer registration, and we're going to take a look at a few of the screenshots today. Again, everything fully customizable, so we've been working with the team to identify your specific needs. Service selection by a unique individual AJC, as well as your partner agency. So whatever service provisions are going on by individual locations, whatever data we're putting in, we can extract that data out to get very robust, EEO reports, your center traffic reports, benchmarking reports, time in, time out, to begin to have dialogue about provision of services and setting some standard of continuity of service. Also, self and staff scanning. You can upload documentation into our system very easy. So we have upload features. We do electronic signatures. We also have our program forms builder. This is a centralized repository for all of your forms. So taking you from a static paper environment to a paperless environment and building into an integrated intake process really changes your workflow. All of our program form builder process has built-in decision logic. So branching logic, it has recursive technology, so it saves up to the latest keystroke when customers are filling out pre-screening or online applications. Our system also has case noting, so you can quickly add, customer records for case note documenting transactions. It also has templates, and we have the document storage built in, so the EDMS repository for being able to store, secure, and search on customer documentation. We also have, as part of our Atlas Core, an audit interface component where you can do internal and external programmatic audits, whether that's your state audit or third-party audit, with built-in communication systems, so you can communicate directly with your auditor and track and review results for requested outcomes for any audit purpose for programmatic audit reviews. If you'll hit the next slide. This is going to be a screenshot of the sample customer registration, and this can be done, in center or web-based to track basic information. This is not your Wagner-Peiser registration, but just a general overview kiosk registration into the system. So it's got quite a bit of demographic information here to collect that at the onset of service provision. It recognizes first-time users. It'll also recognize, at the bottom of the screen there, you see "Welcome back, Sally Jones." So if they're coming back into the center, it will recognize that. It will welcome them back. It will ask them to confirm their information. So it's really key that we have up-to-date phone numbers, address, so your staff can communicate and access customers at any given point in time. The lower portion identifies, how we can assist you today. Again, this is being built out and fully customized by each of your AJC locations. And there's drill down options. If you click here for appointment, what type of appointment? Are you here for WIA? Are you here for TANF? Are you here for SNAP? Are you here to see the veterans? And again, we can track that based on, each center and provision of services. If you'll hit the next slide for me. Thank you. This goes into our e-signature. And so after the customer registers, we will collect the electronic signature. And so by capturing this signature, and this is some sample verbiage of the acknowledgement form and the general release of consent. So we tend to want to capture this at the onset. You can toggle this feature on and off, again, preference by regional area, but we capture the signature once, and then the signature, that electronic signature is stored. The customer receives a snapshot notification of their electronic signature. It's filed into participants' record, and then any form that's created, and there are a lot of forms when you document WIOA eligibility, it will automatically embed the customer signature into the required form. So you've captured the digital signature once, and then we can embed that into our program forms builder because it integrates. If you'll hit the next slide. So this is just sharing a little bit about our integrated intake process, creating that seamless workflow. It allows staff to provide higher quality services by using our system, which just streamlining services provides more time for them to really interact and develop a rapport and get to know the customer because you're automating some of the workflow. So from here, they can, once the customer registers, they can assign particular forms. So when they pre-screen, they do the application. If the customer is eligible, they can go ahead and then assign them to the required intake forms. Again, taking everything from a manual process to an electronic, online, fully integrated intake process. This system will, off to the right, the response management section will allow them to communicate with the customer. So as they're reviewing the application, if they notice that something was filled out incorrectly, they can do a quick email to the customer, correspond back and forth, make edits as necessary, and then the status will allow them to take it from in progress review to a completed application. Once the application is completed, it will completely flat file it into a PDF and e-file it into our Atlas system. And through the data collection process with WIOA, it does require documentation to be submitted. So customers can take a snapshot of their driver's license, birth certificate, any documentation that's required to substantiate eligibility and upload it in this intake process. The next slide is our one-stop operator partner portal. This is a phenomenal system to engage your required partners, mandatory co-located, your IFA partners to really increase partner engagement. This system will allow you to do full end-to-end referrals. It will do a three-way referral system. And what I mean by that is when you execute the referral, the customer receives the referral immediately. The referring agency, as well as the receiving agency, receives the referral. So by implementing this particular system, we've seen increased partner engagement because you're issuing quality referrals. We've also built in some communication tools here with an integrated newsletter where partners can submit articles for a newsletter that your admin is reviewing and publishing. And we've built in an integrated calendar of events. So if partners are having an in-house recruitment event, or you're having a job fair, or one of the agencies is doing a parenting class, everybody can share all the resources that are going on as far as events and publish it to one centralized calendar. And there's quite a bit of robust reporting that's available through our one-stop partner portal. If you'll hit the next slide for me. So the way this works is every organization that you sign up through your partner network has their own page, and you can do, staff and partners alike can do keyword search. If you're looking for somebody providing childcare or housing or rental assistant, or you have a clothing need, you can do a keyword search here, or search by tags that are available in the drop-down menu. This makes it easy to identify the available services. Within the partner profile, you have established point of contacts. You've got all the site locations. You've got Google Maps that will quickly map it to their location. You have the eligibility criteria outlined. You have the ability for partners to upload any forms if there's applications that must be filled out prior to executing that referral or as part of the referral process, and any special requirements. So that's what helps facilitate quality referrals inside this partner portal. If you'll hit the next slide for me. The referral process is pretty simple. You click to connect here as it's visually displayed on the screen. You fill out some basic customer demographic information. And then if there is a form to be uploaded, you drag and drop the form and then you click submit, and the referral is executed. So it definitely creates accountability with the referral process, improves communication, and transparency with your partner programs, and you can collect better data and outcomes for painting and telling a more accurate story. So you can look at total number of referrals by partner agency. You can begin to benchmark, tie outcomes tangibly to your IFA, your funding agreements with your partner organizations, and track it down to type of referral services that are occurring within your AJCs. If you'll hit the next slide for me. This is the eligible training provider portal, and we created this system back in 2017 for one of our metro boards that had 35 different training providers they were working with. And it was a very tedious and cumbersome task, very paperwork intensive for all the documentation that the training providers were required to submit to go through board approval. And then once they submitted, there was then like an annual or biannual review process that the boards would go through. So working with the board, we came up with a way to make that process streamlined, efficient, and completely paperless. And so again, it's controlled by an admin on your team that reviews and tracks the required forms, the required documentation. Educational providers can upload the required forms like the W-9, state licenses, their catalogs, their performance information. They fill out the forms once, and then when you go into your subsequent eligibility review, they can edit the form. So anytime there's a new program, it's very easy for them to add that information. It's very easy if there's a change in training program costs for them to communicate that information to the board. And it's very easy for the board to document that and manage the system as a whole. It's saved a lot of time and yielded higher productivity for what was a very, again, paper intensive process, time consuming process for board staff, and taking it into a paperless system. That's our eligible training provider portal. If you'll hit the next slide. So those are the main three things that we're currently working with the Mojave team on, but we have been in discussion with them about some future plans of working on our Atlas AI. This is our SMS and MMS, our cloud-based communication platform that has built-in interface to enhance the customer experience. This two-way communication system allows you to take any interaction between the participant and staff and automate that process through SMS. And think about your monthly follow-up contacts, your appointment reminders, any reoccurring and repetitive tasks that staff have to do while they're in training, while they're in work-based learning, while they're in post-exit follow-up. There's a lot of clerical repetitive tasks that are required to ensure compliance. So they're important tasks, please don't get me wrong. But using the SMS platform just yields great results. We've had boards that used it for appointment reminders only for RACIA programs and yielded a 24% increase in their show rates. We've had boards that used it for youth programs only and showed a 96% increase in their engagement levels with youth program participants. So it works. SMS statistics show 98% open rate compared to your traditional email, which is less than 20%. And they open SMS messages timely at 90 seconds after submitting an SMS, the SMS messages are being opened. So you're getting quick engagement with your program participants versus telephone calls versus emails when you're trying to track down things that are required for compliance. Customers can also snapshot that picture and upload it through SMS. The other thing we've been talking about is our employer portal. So everything we showcase kind of on the Atlas core side, we also have for employers. So imagine that system where all of your applications, all of your required contracts, all of your required forms are uploaded into a central repository for employers that ties into your audit interface as well. So those are some of the things that we have planned for the future with working with the Mojave team. If you'll hit the next slide, Rachel. And that really concludes the presentation. We just wanted to share with you some of the things we're working on. I think you guys are doing amazing work already as we've had detailed discussions with Director Smith as well as Sarah. We're confident that the Atlas products and portals that we are engaging in partnership with you will help continue to augment and provide an enhanced service delivery flow to your staff, your customers, and your stakeholders, and that you will see and feel the impact from your return on investment with our products and services. So I'll open it if there are any questions.
Thank you, Jody. We really appreciate the information. Really excited to get this moving. I know Director Smith's already pushing it further within the state as well.
Yes.
Does anybody have any questions or comments?
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you again, sir.
Can you guys hear me online? Thank you, Chairman Thornberry.
Yes.
So I would just like to say in regards to the program, there will be a lot of outcomes that we received from this program. The state did a couple different things, if you remember, probably about 9 months to a year ago. And that's when we really started ramping up. We asked the state at the time when they did their mapping and referral process if they had anything. They did not have anything at that time. A lot of different boards have spoken about this program, and I've received other additional calls. Lastly, the WAC call, which took place this week, they're going to have a convening like they do every year. One of the topics was I brought up the Atlas system and how we need to move forward with innovative opportunities within. You can see the different things that are offered here in Atlas today. The WAC was definitely interested and said that they would definitely think about taking this up and having the opportunity for the state to move forward. We have been in conversation with DES to try to do different things in regards to this platform. Currently, right now, this will be a two system platform, meaning that it won't go directly into AJC, but the end goal is to make sure that we can get this to communicate with AJC, if not on all levels, certain levels to reduce staff time. So we've started those conversations, and the WAC can really help with that. I also know that the state of Arizona is going to be putting out for RFP next year for technology and system development. So that's something to come in the future. Hopefully, with the things that we're doing as a board ourselves, we'll be able to then present data that really has clear understanding of where we're at. So like 3 meetings ago when Olin asked Jason, one-stop operator, how many referrals were there between the core partners and his department, right? We had to go back through, count them up and figure it out, as opposed to in the future when we come back to the board for actually launching this for the core partners, right? Because currently right now, this is for Title 1B, which is Mojave County. We'll be able to do that. And once the board approves it for the whole system for Mojave County and La Paz, the core partners will then be responsible and will have to use the system and coordinate with that. So we'll know how many referrals we're getting for GED. We will know how many referrals we're sending off to vocational for voc rehab. So we'll have that, and we'll have that information, and those things will be powerful, right? And we'll also know the outcomes, and we'll also know how long did it take somebody to act upon that referral, right? So as an internal audit for Title 1B, right? We sent the referral. When was that picked up? When was that delivered? How was that conducted? So there's different things that we can improve our system on and making sure that we're looking at it as well as our core partners as well. So those are just a couple things that I would add for background information. I also did ask the state when we were on the call for the mapping through the WAC, because they did a mapping of our office as well through that as kind of a internal audit best practices that they presented to the state. And the only other system that had anything, and it wasn't anything like Atlas, was Maricopa had a Google referral program, right? But there was nothing there in regards to those linkages. I think the other thing too to remember is when we get into the IM and the text messages, it's a thing of the future, right? And not only that, but I think too, when we look at how we do our IMs, our text messages, a lot of that data is lost, right? Because we either have to upload it again, or the conversations have to be retyped into AJC and case management notes. So this will actually be the conversation, right? As opposed to the typing of multiple conversations and reduction for staff in regard to their follow-up. So that's the direction we're going. And I'm welcome. If there's any questions, I'll address those. And I'll have to say that, Sarah Ungaro, the workforce manager, has been doing a great job with it. And I applaud her what she's doing with. We're recording all these things as well. So when we move forward with our core partners and our for Mojave La Paz Workforce Board, we'll be able to repeat these actions on an ongoing basis and not just one-offs and then have to train people. We'll have things done, so we'll facilitate that. If there's any questions, I'll take those now.
Rachel, do we have a question or is that just a chat? Gotcha. Okay. All right. Thank you again for the presentation. Very helpful, and look forward to seeing this move forward. All right. Moving on to the Workforce Development Board agenda. Item number 6 is going to be pulled today. We don't have the backup ready to move that forward. So we'll start with item number 1. Discussion of possible action regarding approval April 28th, 2022 meeting minutes. Does anyone have any changes, additions, or deletions for the minutes? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the April 28th, 2023 meeting minutes. Thank you, Gary.
Second.
We got 3 seconds. I think we're good. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 2, discussion of possible action regarding your review of Mojave La Paz Workforce Development Board attendance, resignations, requests for nominations to join the board, new renewal appointments by the Board of Supervisors. Director Smith.
Chairman, currently at this time, we're in compliance, and there's nothing to add at this point.
Thank you, Director Smith. This item needs no action. Item 3, discussion of possible action regarding ratification of John Deemer term length. When we initially voted Mr. Deemer onto the board, it was for a 4-year term. Then we realized that as he was replacing the Wagner-Pfizer position, that term ends January of 23. So we voted in executive committee to change his term length to end January of 23, and then he'll be up for a 4-year term at that point. Today is just a ratification of that executive committee vote. Is there any questions on Mr. Deemer's term length? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to ratify John Deemer's term length to end January of 2023. Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item number 4, discussion of possible action regarding ratification of Arizona at Work Mojave La Paz Memorandum of Understanding, MOU, and Infrastructure Funding Agreement, IFA, for PY 2020 to PY 2023. Director Smith.
Thank you, Chairman Thornton. So this item comes to us. We actually approved this as a board, the MOU IFA. We submitted it to the state. There was a few things that needed to be adjusted in regards to square footage and things of that nature. In the form, which you'll see in the backup, that we highlighted as well. We presented to the Board of Supervisors. The Board of Supervisors approved it. So this is ratification of what was approved by the Board of Supervisors.
Does anyone have any questions on the MOU IFA? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to ratify the MOU IFA for PY 2020 to PY 2023. Thank you, Olin. Thank you, Gary. Or Matt, wasn't sure which one that came from. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Can you hear me better now? All right, item number 5. Discussion and possible action regarding filling vacant seat in the Performance Review Committee. At this time, I'll entertain nominations for the vacant seat on the Performance Review Committee. I would like to nominate John Deemer for the Performance Review Committee? I have a second. All in favor of appointing John Deemer to the Performance Review Committee signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? John Deemer has been appointed to the Performance Review Committee. Are there any other nominations for the Performance Review Committee? Welcome aboard, John. Thank you for stepping up. We did talk before the meeting. I didn't just throw him under the bus. All right, item number 7 is discussion and possible action regarding review and accept partnership with MCC to submit application for the Quest National Dislocated Worker Grant. And with your approval, after this discussion, I will sign the letter of support. Director Smith.
Thank you, Chairman Thornberry. So I just want to go ahead and give a high-level overview of this grant. Background information. This grant came to us Monday or Tuesday of last week. The way it worked is the different community colleges within the state wanted to apply for this grant. However, they don't have the apply for the grant. So what happened? They approached OEO. Office of Economic Opportunity. Office of Economic Opportunity said they would apply. Certain things were met within the grant and the grant application. The only way that it could be facilitated is that it would go through the local boards, Arizona at Work. What would happen is it would be a pass-through Arizona at Work to the local colleges. They have then worked with the industries in the north, dislocated workers. In that meeting that we initially had with the local colleges and the people across the state, one of the things that I initiated and said is that currently dislocated workers has always been an area of struggle, and that we really should look at how we're going to approach that and what needs to be done. So it is broader than the WIOA definition of dislocated worker. So with that being said, can everybody still hear me okay online?
It's cutting in and out quite a bit.
Yeah, agreed.
Okay, sorry for that. I'll try to just speak directly into the mic. So with that being said, I just basically said, this is going to be very difficult to find the numbers that we want to do and to apply. MCC, as well as Arizona College, for La Paz, said they still want to move forward. So right now, currently, it's my understanding there's 7 counties that actually want to move forward with this opportunity. I also explained that even if we do a pass-through, we'll still have responsibilities as a county. What are those? We have to enter the information in the AJC for the tracking and the outcomes. The outcomes will be the state performance outcomes that we'll have to follow as well. I also noted that if we do move forward, that in regards to financial responsibility and indemnification, that's something that we would want as a county to make sure that the colleges that are taking this on as a pass-through would would take on that piece of responsibility as well. So those are some key things when you look at it. And I believe we have a representative from MCC as well as from Western Arizona College, as well on the line. So with that being said, there'll be one application for MCC, Mojave Community College, and one for AWC. So those people submit to the Arizona at whole for the state board, and then from things together. Currently, the application is still being, as we have meetings. That's kind of what I know that we received the budget from MCC. We've also received an initial budget from AWC as well. So we're going to put those things together. Those will go to the whole group for this. This has not gone to the Board of Supervisors. It has not gone, I mean, it's here today with the Workforce Development Board. I expressed in all of the meetings moving forward that yes, we're interested, but it would have to go to the Workforce Development Board and then also go to the Board of Supervisors for approval. We can move forward, we can move forward with, if the Workforce Development approves it, we can still move forward and then have ratification for the board. If the board, a Board of Supervisors decide that they do not want to move forward with the grant, at that time, we will then no longer be within the grant. And those funds then will be distributed to other counties within the state of Arizona and so forth and so on. Are there any questions? Sure. So the grant's for $15 million, and that'll be divided between the that are actually grant and a part of this. I don't have the whole list of all the different counties and community colleges that are applying, but it will be for $15 million, and it will be a 2-year cycle. So whatever we do this year, we'll be doing for the upcoming year. I know that it's focused on industries in demand, so medical, advanced manufacturing, CNAs, nursing. So those are some of the programs that the colleges are developing, because the colleges will take the lead in regards to the industries in demand. Our team here at Mojave at the workforce will actually put in the data. We'll have 2 full-time employees for each county. There'll be no cost burden to the county in regards to this program. Those funds will come out of the grant to facilitate that and put actually to also put the information in the AJC for reporting. To the benefit that I see to this is that a couple different things through this program and grant, we'll actually with these 2 other employees have the ability to co-market, but to work for the WIOA. So with that being said, we'll have people out in the community full time, not only talking about this grant, but also talking about Arizona at work. The individuals will be housed within the local colleges as well. And that'll serve a couple different functions too. And I'll get into that later, but my director's report, but part of it is it'll really bring together the community partners, the training providers within the county into Arizona at work. And I think we'll have this grant, even if we don't get the grant, it still now has transitioned Arizona at work and put us in a place where open communication is happening with the local college. And that's important. When we met to talk about this grant, I kind of outlaid the different dollar amounts where we had spent funds with the local colleges. Those numbers were between the cohorts and the tuition reimbursement for MCC were less than $50,000. So as we look at that, right, there's a lot of room for growth, as well as for, doing the different outreach programs that we'll have. I know I bounced around a little bit with this, but once again, we don't have the actual grant in front of us. We have a strong understanding that the grant August 4th, so no time like the present. And I'll take any questions.
Thanks, Director Smith. I want to thank Director Smith for involving me as the chair in these meetings. I wasn't able to attend every one of them, but the first thing that popped out, like Director Smith said, this was for dislocated workers, and we've always had trouble spending that portion of our budget in the past. Fortunately, on this grant, DW is defined differently as anybody that's been affected by COVID. So I think there's a large portion of the community out there that for one reason or another wasn't eligible for WIOA funds, but now would be eligible. On top of that, we can piggyback both. So we can have somebody working through WIOA Title 1B funds and this grant as well. Like Director Smith said, I would urge the board to have me sign this letter of support. There's still a few steps to go, but this grant award is actually a really fast grant award, by the end of the year. Anytime we can say yes to someone in our community and provide another service, I think we should be involved in that. And to be able to grow, you know, uh, just like on the Workforce Arizona Council Strategic Committee call this week, CTE is such a large portion of getting that workforce in the funnel. So having CTE and the local colleges work together, shortening those programs to become certifications. And then if they want to move on, these are all great conversations that we've had with Jason Gee and others at MCC. It's just a great opportunity to have another funding source that can implement what we're doing now and expand the eligibility. I think that's the biggest key to this grant, is being able to expand that eligibility. I do want to be transparent, and the only critical question that I had for the group about our second or third meeting was, we've talked about these things for a long time. We need to get to execution. And that was my concern. And I got assurance from OEO at the state level that we would have additional staff locally so that it wouldn't be a burden on existing staff. And just the engagement we've had from the colleges over the last 3 or 4 days has been amazing. So as a chairman, I would like to recommend to the board that you allow me to sign the letter of support for this program. Does anybody have any questions?
Chairman, I would just add, we do, I believe, have Dr. Lacey as well as Kathy Ocampo from American Western College on the line as well.
Does anybody have any further comments? Thank you. I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion passes. Item 8, discussion and possible action regarding review and approval of WIOA Title 1B Adult Dislocated Worker and Youth requests for payment for April 2022 and May 2022. Director Smith.
Thank you, Chairman Thornberry. These are, I'll answer any questions if there are any.
Thank you, Chana. We have a motion to approve. Thank you, Olin, for the second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 9, discussion and possible action regarding review and acceptance of WIOA FY23 expenditure goals and 3-year analysis. Director Smith.
Thank you, Chairman Thornberry. So I want to, before I turn, I'm going to ask our Chris Register from our finance department to actually do some of the review of this, and there'll be a presentation. But I wanted to really express to the board, it was brought to my attention probably a little more than a month and a half ago in regards to expenditures and the way the program previously had done budgeting as well as finances. And part of what it was is we operate on a 2-year contract. So really best practices would state that on a 2-year contract, you're spending 50% of that contract each year. It was brought to my attention that those things weren't happening and that we were rolling over a substantial amount of funds of a 2-year contract every year into the next year. Were we meeting our expenditures for that year? Yes, we were. But as you can see, that sets up for the perfect storm. What I mean by that is at this time, and Chris, we're just finalizing invoices and things of that nature. We will have to give money back to the state for the first time. Obviously, we don't want to do that. As soon as I knew that that was the case, I reached out to DES in regards to the procedures, talked to the WIOA workforce manager, explained to her what was going on. She explained that there would be no repercussions for not spending the money. The program's actually set up so that the funds will be reverted back to the state, and they could even come back to Mojave. So it's not that the funds are lost or they go back to the federal government. It's just that currently it's 2 years, and then that last year it goes to the state to decide and make sure that those funds are expended. Part of that moving forward is how did we get here and where do we go? I also asked the team to, go back and look at the past 3 years and do an analysis of where we are at, right? Because I want to know what we were at before COVID and where we're at today. So Chris is going to go through all this and outlay it. But some of the things that I really said needed to happen ongoing was not doing it bi-monthly, not doing it quarterly, but we need to reconcile every single month and then meet and discuss that, know where our cohorts are. This is the different things of working with the community members and making sure that if a cohort or something doesn't go through, or it's not going to take place, or our community partner can't deliver on what they're supposed to do, that we're ready to transition sooner than later and make sure that those funds are expended. I believe, and Chris, I know this number's been changing, but it's right about 14% for the contract year that we're going to be giving back funds. So it's not a terrible amount of it's a large sum of money, but I think when you look at it, we still have to be good stewards of the funding and making sure that we do that. I know when we look at our staffing as well, that played a factor into it. There's a lot of things that transpired this past year. COVID, COVID's real. It's not going away. That affected our team to be in the office and deliver services, and we'll show some numbers there as well. But I wanted to give a brief recap, an explanation of where we're at and where things are transitioning before I ask Chris to go through this. So at this time, I'm going to ask Chris to go ahead and give a presentation. Thank you, Chris.
Can you?
I'll try to be. So Michael asked me to go back and look at the 3 years previous on where we've been and how our staffing played a part in it, how COVID played a part in it. There's a lot of different factors, but the first, if you can change the slide. This slide is a preliminary because we haven't closed the year yet. We're still getting invoices in. So that the amount is going to go down a little bit, not a whole lot, but a little bit more. And you'll see this on the totals down on the bottom. Total amount right now, or at least as of last week, was 454,000. So about 14%. Oh, okay. It's about this particular. Next slide. This is staffing and vacancies in the last year and a half. CSD has seen, or for WIA, Workforce Development has seen a significant staffing issue, which in the past has not been the case. And this is just analysis of that. People out for COVID, not there. And then the cost that had an impact on what we were not spending on that. Does anybody have a question on that? So this also is just another form of it showing the staffing issues between the departments, because we do have more than one division in community services. So this is just showing the different levels for each portion of the community services. To the second year. 30th of 23. Be completed. And then also the funds that we will need to expend for the new contract coming in. Does anybody have any questions? That is part of it. I mean, because when you're not expending money on salaries and benefits, that's a big cost to us. Also, when you don't have the staff in place, they're not able to enroll and do all the stuff that's required to do for our clients. Does anybody else have questions?
I'll just add this, Director Smith, best practices state, and we will moving forward, just so everybody knows, on a 2-year contract, and this will be discussed later in the board as well, but just so that the board's aware, there will not be a full contract carryover, or a large percentage of a carryover ever in the near future. The goals and the expectations that we set forth as a team and to develop is that 50% of the current year's contract will be spent. So for a 2-year contract, we're not rolling over a full 2-year contract. I want to make sure that people are aware that that's what was being done as well. So that's why when you look at the funding and the dollar amount, we were carrying over almost a full 2-year contract, as opposed to expending 50% of that 2-year contract and then having the next contract start and having those funds as well for that part of the 2-year contract. So just make sure that everybody's clear of where we're at. That's all I have.
All right. No other questions? All right. Thank you for that review. You want to, we don't need it. All right, we'll move on to item 10, discussion of possible action regarding approval of the bi-monthly or quarterly meetings for the Performance Review Committee. The consensus at the last Performance Review Committee and the vote from the Executive Committee was that we want to keep the Performance Review Committee on bi-monthly. We've expanded the board meeting to quarterly again to allow the program to have time to prepare for the meetings. But having the oversight of the Performance Review Committee, I believe bi-monthly is going to be the best way forward for us, as well as the program now doing monthly reconciliations. We're just trying to make sure that we're being proactive instead of reactive. So my recommendation to the board would be to continue the Performance Review Committee on a bi-monthly basis. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to continue with the bi-monthly meetings for the Performance Review Committee. Thank you. I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 11, discussion of possible action regarding review and acceptance, the increase of basic enrollment budget limits. Director Smith.
Thank you, Chairman Thornberry. So everybody, I'm for sure, has been affected by inflation and can see the different things that are happening within their own pocketbook or the community. It's our recommendation for this to be expanded from 250 to 450.
I couldn't agree more. Everything is going up, and nothing worse than having somebody that's come to our door, ask for the service, qualifies for the service, but then we don't have enough on that line item to be able to provide the service. And this is also, I think, part of, like Chris said, we had short staff during the transition, Being able to increase these limits will also help us reach our spending goals on the budget, and to be able to provide as much services as possible. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to accept the increase of basic enrollment budget limits. Thank you. Motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 12, discussion and possible action regarding review and acceptance of increase of adult dislocated workers supported services budget. Director Smith.
Thank you, Chairman Thornberry. So this is in the same line with the last item, and currently we're at 1,500. The recommendation was to increase that funding limit to 2,500.
And I have the same comments here as I did on the last item. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to accept the increase of the adult DWS supported services budget. All right, we got a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 13, discussion and possible action review and accept the revisions to the ETPL policy. Director Smith.
Thank you, Chairman Thornberry. So these come about through the state updating their process in July. With that being said, one of the major things coming out of this is that not only does the state have to approve it, but the local board has to approve it. So it's really agreement and responsibility on this. And those are highlighted in yellow, as you can see with the ETPL.
Any question on the changes for the ETPL for the local board? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the revisions to ETPL policy. Thank you, Chana. Thank you, Olin. We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 14, discussion of possible action regarding review and acceptance of the PY 22 and PY 23 performance measures. Director Smith.
Thank you, Chairman Thornberry. So the state actually went to a new system this year, which was called SAM. Part of the SAM is they take a development of what your past outcomes have been, as well as what they believe your future predictable model would be. At this meeting, it was Chairman Thornberry, as well as Chairman Gould from the Board of Supervisors, and Sarah Ongaro. These measures were negotiated. They might have been off by a percentage here, a little bit there, but for the most part, we were pretty much spot on with what we negotiated and what was put forward. Are there any questions, or Chairman, do you want to expand upon that?
So most of the data that we had questions on, they were looking at a 3-year average. Like Director Smith said, everything was within a percentage or two. We had come up with a set of numbers that we started with. They had their set of numbers. In the few cases that there was a difference, they might have asked us to move up 1%, or dollar amount. They asked us to move up an extra $300. When we looked at our 3-year historical average, it was actually much higher than that. So if we continue to trend the direction we are, these should be very attainable goals. Any further questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to accept the PY 22 and 23 performance measures. A motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 15, discussion and possible action regarding review and acceptance PY 22 allocations. Director Smith.
Thank you, Chairman Thornberry. So the funding was decreased for almost all workforce areas. Just to give you a little background, we were given 6 different options which we could choose. We chose the options that obviously would benefit Mojave La Paz the best. We didn't get those because it's voted upon by the state. With that being said, you can see in procedures of the way DES conducted this and did this has changed, and they've been updating that and putting that forward. So it's not the way it's always been. But I think when you look at it, we're still in a very strong place financially with the carryover that we had again this year. Funding wise, funding isn't an issue for the county or for the program, that I should say. Also, if we receive the grant in partnership with the college for the dislocated worker, the money that we could transfer from dislocated worker to this as well, because there'll be other funds to address those needs, gives us even more funding opportunities. It's really going to be upon us to really be strong advocates. And I think, like I said, when I touch more about the relationships and things that we're doing with the college, it'll expand upon it. But those are the allocations, and that's what was agreed upon. Any questions?
Hearing no questions, I'll entertain a motion to accept the PY 22 allocations. Thank you. I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 16, discussion and possible action regarding data validation closure letter PY 21 third quarter. Director Smith.
Thank you, Chairman Thornberry. So I believe we have the updated letter in the backup. We received this closure letter from DES. Part of this, one of the things that happened with one of the recent findings is there was an individual that came in, did not have an ID. They were transient. We didn't get the ID for the person. That's why they were there, is to get the ID. They then left. That's just something that we'll have to have as a finding within the local workforce board, and that was the only finding that they had.
All right. I guess the folks online are saying we got to get closer to the mic. So I just want to clarify that there was no funds spent on this enrollment, correct?
I do not believe so.
No funds. Chris is shaking her head. All right. Any questions on the closure letter validating? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to. Well, I guess we don't really need a motion. It's just the closure letter. There's no action that needs to be taken. Yeah, just being transparent. All right. Item 17, discussion of possible action regarding review and accept EO monitoring closeout letter. Director Smith.
Thank you, Chairman Thornberry. So our one-stop operator did assure me that we did have these, and I did see pictures of them. These are the requirements were located within the cubicles of all of our area that we work in. This happened in our Parker office. With that being said, we do not use the one-stop area for the computers in that office, so we did not have any signage there. And this is just a closure letter of where we're at, and I have nothing more to add to that.
Any questions? All right, move on to item 18, discussion of possible action, review and accept Kingman office review finding letter. Director Smith.
Thank you, Chairman Thornberry. So this one here, basically, the migrant service, they came in and they reviewed it. Part of this one here was that actual complaints and the way things need to be followed through, the policy has not been developed yet by DES. When DES shares that policy with us, we will share that with our front staff people, and we will be compliant with this here as well. Also, one of the things that they asked about was for seasonal migrant workers, did we have a way to identify the service and the services that would be needed? We don't have two applications. We do that in AJC, so we identify that service and we provide that. So currently at this time, that's where we're at.
So just to clarify, if they're out of work and then we ask the follow-up question, was their previous work in farming, then they may be able to qualify for that additional program. Is that correct?
I believe that's my understanding.
All right. Any further questions on the Kingman Office Review Finding Letter? All right. Item 19, discussion and possible action regarding accept and implement the Performance Review Committee recommendation that Arizona Work review how services are currently being provided and look at how those services can be expanded to meet the needs of the community, to include a formal outreach program and other hybrid options. So we're kind of stealing Tommy's thunder from his performance review overview, because we've actually got the items listed here as action items. So Tommy, did you want to speak to this, or do you just want to see if anybody had any questions on item 19?
I'll just see if anybody has any questions. I don't need to repeat everything you can see.
Thank you. All right.
Any questions?
Any questions on item 19? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to accept the Performance Review Committee's recommendation that a formal outreach program and hybrid options be developed. Thank you, Olin. I have a motion and a second by Gary. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. Motion carries. Item 20, discussion possible action regarding acceptance and implementation of the Performance Review Committee recommendation that Arizona at Work include a monthly reconciliation report during the PRC meetings. I think we've already talked about this. I'll entertain a motion to approve the PRC's recommendation. Thank you, John. Thank you. A motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Same sign. Motion carries. Item 21, discussion of possible action regarding acceptance implementation of the Performance Review Committee's recommendation that Arizona Work meet their goals within a 9-month span to include WEX and OJT goals. And I'm going to turn this one over to Director Smith.
Thank you, Chairman Thornberry. So part of this came out of when we did the SWOT analysis and looked at where we were at. So for a 2-year contract, that would end in well, not end, but the goal would be that the funds would be expended by the 21st month, right? It's a 2-year contract. So your goals and your expectations as you move forward would be done within that 21 months. And then obviously the 2nd year contract, right? We have the funds to cover anything on that. The goal is to try to get to that point. And that's really what we were discussing really as a team, to make sure that we're expending the money, and those goals and things have been set forth, and that'll be discussed in a later agenda item as well. Open any questions.
So for transparency, this item got tabled from the executive committee to the full board. There was no recommendation from the executive committee. Everyone, I think, was just trying to make sure we understood the nexus of where this is coming from. And I think, in the past, talking with Chris and Director Smith, almost the full 2 years budget was carried over. We're trying to get away from that model to where we're only carrying over 1 year, trying to make sure that when we're 3 months out from the end of a budget cycle, we're not finding ourselves short, so we have more time to react. And I just like to hear, Chris had a lot of great input at the executive committee, so just like her to be able to share with the full board her thoughts on this issue.
So the idea is that, like Director Smith was saying, is that we're going to be, by the 2nd year, the 9th month of the 2nd year, we're going to have that contract completely spent out. And then we have that time through the end of the year to start working on this, the next contract, because we're running technically 2 contracts at a time that are rolling over. In the past, way back when, they used to be a lot more conservative on how they spent the money or how we were directed to spend the money, only because we did need to carry it over and the amount of money that we had was a lot less, to ensure that we could provide services in the next year. So in this case, because we are getting more money to serve the community, we need to make sure that we're planning a lot better and just being more hands-on with it.
Thank you very much. That helps me at least. Anyone else have any questions? All right, hearing no questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve the Performance Review Committee's recommendation that Arizona Work Program meet their goals within a 9-month span to include WEX OJT goals. I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Same sign. Motion carries. Item 22, discussion of possible action regarding review of the RFP for the one-stop operator. Director Smith.
Thank you, Chairman Thornberry. So Jason Millen, our one-stop operator, resigned as of July 1st. With that being said, we've updated the RFP. We have it pretty much ready to go. Everything that we've changed is in yellow that you can see for the backup information. Really, the point of doing this and trying to get it on the agenda as well is that there's a very short time window that we'll have to work with procurement of the county to go through this process. And if everything goes smooth and we get someone, we should have somebody hired by October if the timeline lays out as we do. But we still also need input. If there's anything that core partners would like to see, or if there's anything else within the RFP, I think as we look at this, there is verbiage. So if we want to change it, we can. But the situation at hand was, if we made any changes to this, it would then have to go through the MOU IFA again with all the core partners, and that would really put us behind of having an opportunity to have a one-stop operator. With the process, the one-stop operator or whoever that may be that takes on the one-stop operator can petition for more funds every year. So that's kind of where we're at. And then we could update that and put that into the MOU IFA with our core partners. But I did want to be transparent with the board in regards to why we didn't increase the salary for this contract and where it was at. But that is something that we looked at and evaluated. But I want to make sure that I put that to the board, because if we decided we wanted to change the contract or the verbiage of it, it would have to go back through the process of the MOU IFA, and that would definitely delay the timing of this.
Any questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to accept the RFP for the one-stop operator. I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 23, discussion only, review findings during Q2 documentation upload to DES. Director Smith.
Thank you, Chairman Thornberry. So this came about, we didn't have our minutes of the meeting on the county website to make sure that we're complying with that, so they're approved. What we've done is we have an action item, just like the Board of Supervisors, and now we've also worked with our IT to put the link of this meeting online, so that way we're meeting all of our Robert's rules and open meeting laws, and we're compliant now.
Any questions on the Q2 documentation uploaded to DES? All right, item 24, discussion only regarding program breakdown from 2019 to 2021. Director Smith.
Thank you, Chairman Thornberry. So with Sarah Ungaro coming on board, going through the process of where we were at, she's been on board now as a manager, I think a little over 6 months. So she's been into the program. She's been with the program prior. I asked her really to go back and look at best practices and kind of do a SWOT analysis of where we've been at from 2019 to 2021 and lead with a plan for the board so that we could all see clearly what that was. And at this time, I'm going to ask Sarah Ungaro, the workforce manager, to go ahead and walk us through this. Sarah?
Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me? All right. Well, let's hope technology works for us today, or at least through the rest of this, so I can present to you. This will also be the items on the agenda for the WIOA Title 1B report, as well as the current priorities. So I'm kind of lumping it all in so that I don't take up any more of the board's time. So as Director Smith did highlight, I have put together a SWOT analysis of our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and some threats that we are seeing across the board in Mojave and La Paz. Rachel, if you could go to the next, thank you. So our strengths are, over the last almost 7 months now, have been to implement new staff trainings. And it has occurred and is scheduled not only currently and has been for the last few months, but also going forward into the next program years. We are having those monthly finance meetings as well as reconciliation. So WIOA and our finance team are working very closely hand in hand to know exactly where we're at and where we're going and where we need to improve very effectively and immediately. The implementation of this Atlas system that you all saw the presentation from Jody this morning will be integral in not only moving us into the 21st century, but into a much more cohesive filing system, allow us to monitor and allow the state to easily monitor us, and to have that quick referral tracking system and accountability really on all levels. Our data trend knowledge, which we will go into shortly, again, kind of knowing where we've been, knowing where we have slumps in enrollments or spending, will help us to strategically plan to reduce those slumps in the future. We are really reducing a silo between our business services within the state, within the county, and all the supporting staff. And our staffing has increased over the last 2 months. Fingers crossed, we never stay fully staffed anywhere in employment. So knock on wood, cross your fingers, and let's hope that just keeps moving into a positive trend for all of us. We did see some very large enrollment and spending increase through the month of June. I believe that with transparency to our frontline staff allows for them to have a better knowledge of exactly what they need to do and why they need to do it. And we have cohort training dates that have been established throughout the upcoming year with multiple agencies and training, as well as high implementation of apprenticeships through some alternative methods. With everything, we have our weaknesses, which has resulted in that fund being sent back to the state. We want to always keep that money here in Mojave County, Mojave and La Paz. So we want to know exactly where we've had these issues. We did see a significant decline in enrollments in 2020 and program year 2021. We also had a decline in spending and placements for WEXs and OJTs. Staff shortages, as highlighted by Chris Register, has been impactful and really created a lot of those weaknesses in the two above noted areas. And then time taken to really retrain staff, either those coming on or those who have been here, that needed to be provided more sound guidance on what they're doing and why they're doing it, so that we don't have further observations or findings. And then the limitation and decreased engagement, not only from staff, but also from the general public related to COVID and stimulus related supports, impacted local businesses and our workforce immensely. This is a correlation of our enrollments over the last 3 years. So from 2019 until June of this last month shows exactly where those have been. And we've highlighted specifically where you can see, and this was local data pulled from our public health that showed initial shutdowns related to COVID and our national emergency was declared. And we had an immediate drop in enrollments. We also see again in November to January where we did have, I apologize if there's interruption. We did have another drop through November, January, and that was in program 2020. And that was specific where we were able to correlate some very high caseload or high cases of COVID. And then last but not least, we see a significant decline here within this year and our past program year. And we actually had the highest amount of COVID spikes in all of Mojave County starting around November, December into January and February. So with that knowledge, we are being very tenacious on what can we do to ramp up enrollments where we see kind of those declines in the October, November timeframes. Our WEX expenses over the years have declined. Our youth did have a bit of a uptick within 2020. I believe was very closely related to our green team had a very ongoing, robust team that was able to support a lot of businesses that were shut down, working with local community food banks to be able to provide or pass out food boxes to those who were not able, because they had compromised immune systems, or those that just couldn't leave. That the significant downwards throughout adult and dislocated worker leads us to know that we need to ramp that up. We need to really focus specifically on reducing that. Rachel, are you able to move it to the next slide? So our OJT expenses, with an employer here that had come in and was trying to build large solar panels. We were able to get that implemented and really move into supporting them and moving those funds. You can to decline. Adamant about working with our local employers to how much of a benefit this can be when they are bringing on new staff and they aren't able to actually recuperate the training expenses that they put out. Next slide, please. Having some technical difficulties, if you won't give me just a moment. So we have highlighted our opportunities. It's very similar to those strengths of what we're doing going forward, and that is going to be implemented within our tracking, knowing whatever that data is over the last 3 years and how historically we can change that moving forward. The other areas that we are really hoping to focus is within that Atlas system implementation for our tracking of reporting on our direct case managers, knowing that when a referral has come in, how quickly are we responding to that? How are we able to continue to build up those community relationships and ensure that we are supporting our businesses and core partners across the board? We are also noting ROP completion. So we will have a report that we'll pull up to show when our case managers are having a 90-day review of our participant progress, specifically to see where are those goals? Are we having a difficult time, and to ensure that that golden thread from time to enrollment to time to completion is sufficient. Are you guys able to hear me?
Yes.
Got a mess. Okay, sorry, I got a message I was cutting out. So another large opportunity that we are seeing has been our change in how we are hiring and that process and onboarding. We are really cultivating a positive environment. We want to be able to retain our staff. If we are teaching employers and businesses how to do so, we should be able to do the same within our own department. We have made some dramatic changes on how we are doing that and ensuring that it is not only a warm, welcoming environment, but it's one that people want to stay in. Our monthly staff follow-ups on programmatic progress and spending, from a administrative to a supervisor to a staff frontline level, is going to give us that opportunity to not only bridge a transparency with our staff, but also to ensure that they are aware of where we're at and where we need to change should we have a slow month. And that is really where the immediate planning and implementation process needs to be. And last but not least, we are very well aware of how the pandemic has impacted us greatly. In February of 2020, there were 7 million job openings across the entire United States. Numbers from May of this year, we're over 11.5 million job openings. You know, COVID is still an ongoing struggle, limiting workforce preparation and staff requiring increased sick leave for recovery. According to Census Bureau data, and again, this is probably slightly off because the last data that they had was from 16 to 2020, is that the median household income was 47,000, while the housing is estimated at 173. That is not to reflect the current inflated rates. So we know that that is a large jump between 40,000 and 4 times above that to be able to purchase a home. So when we are trying to bring new talent and new individuals into our area, we're finding this to be a very large threat to find affordable housing for them. And last but not least, our population ages 16 plus participating in the workforce across Mojave County is 44.8%. And within La Paz, it's 37.6. So we are missing a great deal of our current workforce and need to increase our engagement so that that does not become a continuous looming threat over our program. Are there any questions so far from that analysis? All right, hearing none, I'll go into our current enrollment and expenditure goals with the information that Ms. Register provided and going through what they've been over the last program year. We want to ensure that we aren't setting ourselves up for failure. So we have made it comparable across the board of exactly how many adults we need to enroll, what that goal is for basics, and we put it kind of into a median area. So it's saying, here's the goal, I expect you to exceed this. And for spending within adult, dislocated worker, and youth, we have tallied that to note that we have to spend approximately $178,000 per month to be able to meet our goals by March, so that we have our funds expended by that 9th month. It's achievable, and again, providing that directly to the staff of, hey, we didn't meet that goal last month, we have to exceed this month to ensure that we're accounting for any areas where we have missed. We have cohorts spread across the next program year with a lot of different training providers, and we're expected to really exceed all of these goals across the board. I have high expectations, and I know our team will be able to jump on board and do everything they need to do. That concludes my report. Thank you. And thank you for bearing with me during technical difficulties.
Thank you, Sarah. We appreciate that. Any questions? All right, hearing none, we'll go to item 25, discussion only regarding Mojave La Paz conflict of interest forms. Yes, it's that time of year again. If you haven't got your sign in back into Rachel, please do that as soon as possible. She should have handed them out to you as you came in today. For transparency, as the chairman, I did list Arizona Labor Force on my conflict of interest form. My company does provide staffing to Mojave County. At no time has my company received any WIOA funds during the time that I've been involved with this board. But for transparency, I just wanted the board to be aware that that is on my conflict of interest form. And if you have any questions for me or Director Smith, please let us know. Anybody else have any questions on the conflict of interest form? All right, hearing none, that concludes our agenda. We'll start out with the director's report.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chairman Thornberry. So I got to say, I'm excited. You know, I'm really excited for the changes that we have upcoming for the workforce board. I'm really excited for the changes in. Okay, can you hear me now? All right, so I'm gonna yell. I'm gonna yell into this microphone. All right, I'm gonna be like a rapper here. So something like that. So I just want to say I'm excited for the changes that are upcoming. The team's really responded well. Sarah Ungaro's doing an awesome job. We've really made some changes within Arizona at Work that I believe will benefit the community. The formal outreach part and hybrid part, that's something that we were working on and will continue to work on to make a difference. I want to change up now and shift a little bit and talk about what I sent the PowerPoint from the last national conference on Workforce Arizona. And really, and not Arizona, but workforce, the national conference, and really, circle back. If you look at youth right now from 16 to 19, right? Currently, that's the lowest participation rate for some of our lifetimes. So since the Korean War, right? So when you think about those things, I mean, just dating time, so people can put it there in the 50s, right? We don't have that active workforce with our youth anymore. So we need to look at how we're doing that and how we engage that. And what can we do to be more proactive? I know some of the things that came out of the conference was technology. We're looking at some other technology for youth to maybe engage them. It's called Interplay. I know one of the companies that we're looking to start an apprenticeship with actually has that and uses that software for their training. And so Sarah's been working with them on that. So I applaud Sarah for that. But part of the thing that we're looking to is to be able to take those to the school and show the kids in the school what trades are available, right? So they can put these goggles on or mask, and then when you put them on, they can see the different careers, right? So they can see what an electrician does. They can see what a person in HVAC will do. They can see what somebody in advanced manufacturing can do or welding, and they can kind of gauge for themselves, like, is this something I want to be a part of? Or then also just the technology component of really seeing that training in probably more of the way they're used to seeing things as opposed to the way we currently do them. So those are some things that we're doing to really do that. I'm also excited at the different training opportunities that we have and that Sarah's been initiating with the team to make sure that everybody's understanding all of the Arizona at the WIOA Act and how it applies to us at Arizona. And so when you think about where we're at, where we're going, how can we make a difference? I think with the Atlas system, with the different programs that we're going to do, with the text messaging things that will be moving forward, I just really feel like we're in a good place. A lot of great changes are coming. I talked about it briefly, was our relationship with MCC, and what does that look like? Great conversations. They're going to give us a chance to speak to their orientation. We're in the process of working with them in that so that we can provide that information and make sure that we're capturing it. With MCC, their numbers were 67%, 68 or 67% of the first year people going to college, first family participant going to college. 37% of those qualified for Pell Grants, right? So that leaves a large opportunity for Arizona at Work and how we can bridge that. So working with their registration department, working with their finance department, making sure that we're presenting to their faculty, is that faculty probably hears first off that there's students struggling with what their needs are. Like, yeah, I don't have the ability to buy a stethoscope. I don't have the ability to get scrubs, right? If those were just barriers to going, becoming nursing or having that opportunity to engage, that's why we're here. So if we can break down those barriers, have those clear communications, and MCC also put it in regards to their strategic goal is in regards to how much we work together in regards to allocations and enrollments. So MCC is really taking our partnership to a whole new level, and I applaud MCC for that. And I really think when we look at the MCC and Arizona Western College as well, the things we're doing there, I see so many positives coming from these relationships and just having these conversations that we're really going to make a difference in the community. And then not only that, but we'll be able to look back in a year from now and say, where did these referrals come from, right? And actually have the data and know where that data came. So that's all I have for today. But I just wanted to say thank you to the board and thank you to Sarah for their hard work.
Thank you, Director Smith. So now we're going to go on to our other reports here, and obviously some of these we don't have people in the positions right now. Performance Review Committee reports and recommendations we had during the agenda. Tommy, did you have anything else?
Sorry, I couldn't find the mute button. No, I do not have anything else.
All right, thank you. And one-stop operator business services, Sarah, I think you pretty much covered everything in your SWOT. Did you have anything else on those? You might still be having some technical difficulties.
I am. Not at this time. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. All right, our committees, I know, what the goal is here with our committees is, we've talked about this with Tammy, is to combine our committees and then have subcommittees so that we can basically have like a recruitment and retention committee with 5 or 6 subcommittees on that committee, or breakout groups, because we aren't that large of a board, and to have 4 or 5 different committees and basically have the same people on all the different committees was kind of just getting redundant there, and it was hard to get a good focus for each individual committee. So I know we're working on that. So I guess I'll turn it over to Tammy, and Tammy, if you want to do any committee updates that you have, as well as your economic development update, and we can knock both of those out.
Perfect, thank you. So first of all, for the Barriers Committee, we have continued to have our meetings. I just put out a survey that to find out if we're meeting the needs of the people that are attending the meetings, and they were very happy with the meetings that we're having. I asked about specific needs within their businesses and what they need training on or support with, and do they want workshops versus just speakers? They want both. We had a workshop last week, and it was very successful in helping to really get down and say, where are we at and what do we need to do with recruitment, retention, onboarding, and training specifically. And so that's what that one was about. We did have a few hiccups where a few people wanted to come and couldn't because we had some issues with problems with our computers canceling our meetings when they weren't canceled. So we had a lower turnout than normal, but I expect us to be back up to normal next month. We asked if they wanted them bi-monthly, every other month or quarterly, and they continue to say that they want them monthly, that this has been a benefit for them. So with that said, we'll continue those meetings up until, and we will continue those meetings, but there's more barriers than just the ones I just discussed, as we know, and there's more challenges. And so I'm requesting that I return and with a full presentation at our next meeting, and I'll meet with the executive board first and come up with a presentation of how combining those 4 committees could work and how that's going to benefit both counties as well, not just our county. And then for an economic development update, I am starting next month my strategic planning meetings. They're little workshops, and instead of just going into meeting with and having like 3 or 4 meetings, I'm actually going into the small communities, some of them together. An example is Yucca and Havasu Heights will be put together in Desert Hills. They'll all be put together in one meeting, but we'll meet together and see what we can do to see what their specific needs are. With the strategic planning, each community or group will have 3 goals that we'll work on together. And then overall at the end, I'm going to pay someone to put all this information together, but we'll have 6 or 7 goals specific to the county that we pull that are generic and the same overall goals in all of the communities, so that we can use those goals in EDA, USDA, and other federal grants, as well as in other areas. And not just for grants, but to actually help work on those goals towards the county. And of course, some of those will be workforce goals. And we know that that's going to come out of every single one of these communities. Companies are still wanting to move forward, which is exciting. And it's taking longer than anticipated for many of these counties and companies. And the due diligence is costing a lot more money. And an example is I have one company that just spent 2 months doing due diligence on a property and got all the way to the end. And even though they were told that there was water and everything, when they actually dived a lot deeper, they didn't have enough water. So they spent over $300,000 on property doing due diligence and can't go to that property. And now we're starting over. My tourism meetings are growing. And we had, I think, a small amount yesterday, but 21 people. but those meetings, they're wanting us to continue to rotate throughout the county. And they want to go on some little, not FAM tours, but some little site tours so that they can actually see some of these examples of what we're working on and what's out in the county and in the region, so that when we talk to people coming in, we can not only encourage them to go to some of these other places, but we can talk about what's going on business-wise and encourage people business-wise to come in. So tourists to turn into new development. And with that, Gina, with my new assistant, is working on a customer service program that will be ready to, and she's working on that with the cities, and that will be ready to be launched at the first of the year. And then as water is becoming a larger concern, I'm getting more educated on water. I'm making sure that certain areas that are lacking in water, like the Kingman area, I'm pushing the high water users away and encouraging them to go to other areas where there is available water. And that's my report. If you have any questions, let me know.
Any questions for Tammy? Okay, we'll move on to the other committees. Transportation, Gary, do you have anything for us? Okay. Excellent. Thank you, Gary. Kirk, are you on the line for the Business Service Committee?
Yes. Just a brief update and then a suggestion to follow on the committee restructuring. As everyone or most everyone should know, that several months over the last year, we focused on cultivating partnerships between MCC, Arizona at Work, and the County Economic Development Office and the County Chambers of Commerce, primarily around cultivating apprenticeship programs to serve priority workforce needs across 7 industry sectors throughout the county. Over the lessons learned over the last several months in that process, I just wanted to update everybody that we're certainly going to continue to push for and pursue cultivation of apprenticeships as the gold standard for workforce training and development. However, what we learned in the process is that apprenticeships take a significant amount of time, both from the partners and in particular from the employers, to actually design a high quality, high integrity apprenticeship that's going to combine structured training with on-the-job learning and incremental wage increases and all of those things. And what we found along the way, that there was a lot of interest by employers in different industry sectors around the idea of apprenticeships, but at the same time, those employers with their workforce challenges did not have a significant amount of time to invest in the design of those models. And so while we're going to continue to pursue apprenticeships where they fit and where the employer partners or industry association partners can invest the time to help us design and implement and pilot the high quality apprenticeship programs, we're teaming up with the same partners, Arizona at Work and the County Economic Development Office and the area chambers of commerce, to focus on a broader umbrella of work-based learning partnerships with employers and industry associations that don't have to be a full-fledged apprenticeship. So what I mean by that is teaming up around short-term training programs that can have WEX and OJT experiences integrated into short-term training programs, but they do not have to necessarily be a full-fledged apprenticeship. What we believe we can do in this effort is engage more employers more quickly with similar outcomes to fill their workforce needs, or to help existing workers get geared up with the knowledge, skills, competencies they need to be more productive for the employers on the job, to fill current vacancies and to help businesses expand their employee base through combinations of short-term training and certifications and on-the-job training and work experiences that are embedded into the training model itself. So over the next 3 weeks, we're going to be working with the area chambers of commerce in Kingman, Lake Havasu, and Bullhead City as the 3 starting points to convene focus groups of employers and industry representatives from those same 7 industry sectors that we targeted for apprenticeships originally, but to identify and confirm the priority short-term training needs for each of those sectors that we can then put together the short-term training programs with embedded work experiences and start to deliver those late this fall. So I think it's a very positive regrouping around around the same partnership strategy, but with quicker outcomes and ROI ultimately. With that said, I also wanted to emphasize that this committee was started about a half a year ago with myself volunteering to chair the committee, and then 2 staff members to provide support around working with chambers of commerce and industry associations on workforce development partnerships. And since I'm the only board member on the committee and the 2 staff members no longer are staff members, I fully support the recommendation to team up with Tammy and the other committees to merge committees and to make the focuses of these subcommittees more productive by just teaming up together on these efforts. Happy to answer questions or to take suggestions.
Fantastic update. Really appreciate that, Kirk. Hope you're enjoying the end of your vacation there.
Thank you.
All right. As I mentioned in the beginning, before we got started, I'm going to have to break here in a minute. So when I step out, I apologize, and I'll hand the mic over to Olin. Gary, you had something? Yeah, I've actually reached out to Unisource, and unfortunately for us, but fortunately for them, they already have their own program. Yeah. Right. Absolutely. No, I couldn't agree more. And I actually know some folks that are going through, getting ready to get their journeyman card through Unisource right now. And, they're 21, 22-year-olds that are going to be making 50, 60,000 to start. And then as they progress through their certifications, they're going to be making 6 figures. I couldn't agree more. And I think we have some good connections there that we could reach out and, help expand that program. All right. Youth Services Standing Committee report.
Okay. Really met since school has been out. So the plan going forward is I will meet with Sarah Ungaro, Director Smith, and their team to kind of outline some goals. And then I will take that to the schools as we meet with them to kind of get help in meeting those goals. And then just kind of one happy note, this year legislatively was the first time we were able to offer students the opportunity to take summer classes and have that flexibility. So we had that we students, those this one better. So I think it was 20 to 25 students and 200 and some credits that we offered this summer. And then we also, that was through Mojave Community College and Arizona Western. And then we also had another 7 students with our partner Creative Care that did a nursing assistant class for us. And some of those students are already employed at Creative Care. So we thank Kristen Ott for that. And the college, getting these students in. Some of those students said, we don't want to have to quit sports. We don't want to have to not be able to do our traditional high school things. So they're very appreciative to have the flexibility to take summer classes. So I think that's just another tool in our toolbox to be able to help serve kids on their journey to getting trained. And so that's kind of a positive as well. And we will work on setting up those goals and starting back up now that schools are starting.
All right, awesome update. I appreciate that. Gary, I was stepped out for just 1 second. Had you done your economic development update? Do you have? Yeah. Yeah, we'll grab you a mic there next to Olin so the online folks can hear you.
Okay, in Kingman, one of the things that's really been taking a lot of our time is the release of the additional 1,800 acres at the airport with the FAA. This has not been an easy trek. They have never, we found out, had never really addressed acreage release of this size. And it was interesting because they kept comparing us to, well, why don't you do like San Diego did and give us a full plan and everything? Well, how big was San Diego? 84 acres. Okay. So it's been a challenge. In fact, there's another meeting today on just the road and the right of way coming through to get to the airport. The city just approved some new guidelines for our commissions. All the commissions now are set up to meet on a quarterly basis, except planning and zoning. And they redefined the responsibilities for our commissions. And then recently we're going to put out a handbook. It really helps guide commissioners on what their duties, responsibilities are, et cetera. What they're going to ask for these commissions is to focus on the master plan or the strategic plan related to that particular department. So that'll be something a little bit different, but it's good because that'll keep us on our toes as staffers to make sure we're following those strategic and master plan guidelines. We've been working on the retention expansion surveys at the Kingman Air Park, the business park. And so we've been able to get 2 or 3 of those a week. The enlightening part there is what you hear from the business owners and the manufacturers. Currently, FedEx is still on schedule. They hoping to be open their doors by Christmas. That's a beautiful 200,000 square foot building if you haven't seen it out there. We did sell another additional 16 acres to a company, Big Industrial, and that's located right next to the big fiberglass building, the fiberglass plant that they own that building and are leasing it. So that was smart. The unique part about this sale, guys, is that there was a burn pit on this property where they had drug all the old bladders from the B-17s and the other airplanes, and they burned them in this pit. Well, it's rather expensive to do this, and so one of the things we agreed to on the sale of this property is that the buyer would, in fact, clean this up, get it all cleared by EPA, and then we would then release the deed on the property. So that will start. So that was unique. So we literally almost had to cut the cost of the sale of the property in half in order for them to facilitate the cleanup. So that little pit cost about $350,000 to clean up. So tourism is up. We're seeing the European traffic has started to increase. One of the things that's been a big help in Kingman is that drive-through 66 Shield has been unbelievable, day and night as far as pictures. Oh yeah, it's really, and now families will gather there for reunions, etc. So it's really been good. Again, several companies at the airport are under expansion. We just presented to City Council last week a 2021 economic development update. We are currently We're redoing our website completely. It's been 3 years, and it's time to bring it up to current speed. And then, as you know, we are currently working on the electric vehicle experience, which is the building that we purchased on Beale from the state. And so we are in the final throes now of working with a architect on the design and what we're going to do internally there. And then one of the big things is we're finally picking the contractor and stuff for the Beale Street remodel in Kingman. So that'll be remodeling Beale Street from 1st to 6th. And it really will change how the downtown area looks. So that's really all I have right now. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Go ahead.
So thank you for that, Gary. Thank you for that, Gary. I think too, and Tammy's on the line still, so that'd be great. You know, one of the requests that we had recently come to Arizona at Work was, could we please provide a list of all the top businesses within the county, employee size, so forth and so on. Really, and so I guess my point is, when I look back, there wasn't any way within Arizona at Work data or programs to pull that information out. I guess my point behind that is, we as Arizona at Work could purchase software, but if there's somebody on the board that has the ability to pull that information and provide those lists and updates, that would be beneficial, so that we have those ongoing. Yeah, I would like it if we could do it for the whole county as well. So I mean, if there's something else that we can do, or Tammy or Gary, if there's another resource that we can pull to get that information, I think that would be great. And then when we write for grants as well and other things, just having that contact information, I think would be beneficial.
So this is Tammy. Gina has been contacting all of the cities, and so far they have not given us any information. Well, we got one city that gave us information, but not everything we asked for. We don't have the total amount of businesses that they just gave us a list of names. I'm in the process of getting a software, and I think that we'll be able to use that, but we're probably a couple months out before I get that software as well. So if the cities, if anybody's there, can reach back out to Gina and give her that information, she'll compile it and put it together. In the process, she's trying to go through and work with development services to see some of the bigger businesses within the unincorporated parts of the county. But the county does not, the unincorporated part of the county, we do not require business licenses. So it's harder for us to identify who the businesses are and how many employees they have without those business licenses like the cities do. But we'll keep working on it.
So Tammy, just so that we can have something across the board, can Gina or yourself share what information you're asking for? And then maybe there's a way the chairman or myself can send an email to the local city folks asking for that information, and really try to have it in a uniformed request or ask, so that we have that information.
I will do that. I'll have Gina reach out and send that to you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And then I would just say, as we speak about committees, I really want to emphasize to the board, as we think about this, is who else can we bring to the table, right? So who other community partners can we reach out to have on the, not necessarily the workforce development board, but for the committee work, right? So start thinking about that as well, because really when we look at how we're going to move those committees and make that work, it can't be through Arizona at Work, right? So what I mean by that is Title 1B can't be doing all the lifting for all the committees. We can participate due to firewalls, but I just want to make sure that we're, using our resources within the different communities and different members bringing to the table, because I think the more people we bring to the committees, right, the better we can have outcomes. And so I'll conclude with that.
Isn't that part of the grant, that we make sure and include the rest of the community and it's not being run by Arizona at Work?
We definitely should be, we should serve all of Mojave County all the time, right? So, and La Paz, through Workforce Arizona and Arizona at Work. I mean, but really the point is we need to make sure that we're encompassing all of the community and different community partners, as opposed to, the 12 businesses that sit on or 13 now, I think, that sit on the board. We need to have more businesses and more people involved in the committee work than just what's here at the table. That's all I was trying to emphasize. That's all.
You want all of this. So for example, the city of Kingman, if we issue you a thing that shows you every business license,
So I think when more than just a business license, it would be really nice to know, what their gross product is, right? How many employees do they have? What are the different things that they're.
Yeah,
It's
I can tell you in the past, I've been out at the airport, I helped him distribute stuff a couple of years ago. You start stepping on toes if you're not careful, because they don't want their competition to know how many people they have and what their number is. And I know you were able to gather some of that information to get some of the road grant stuff through out there. But I think that there's probably a way through OEO. I mean, it's not going to break it down by business, but we can definitely break it down by sector. I've looked at that data, so we could look at mean income by sector, by SIC code. I know we can do that through OEO.
And that's the reason we were very basic when we were trying to get, they're willing to say how many employees they have usually, but they're not willing to say what all their products are, or which you would think would be public, but they're not. But if we can get some basic information to start, then we have a process to go in later and work with them and get a lot more detail from them. And then we'll build on that.
All right, sounds great. One-stop partner report. Sarah, did you have anything additional for your current priority list?
Not at this time, thank you.
Thank you. I think we've got adult dislocated worker and youth covered by the SWAT. Title II, adult education literacy, Mr. Lefevre.
Yeah, hi, this is Craig Lefevre from Title II. I just wanted to say we look forward to working with the new one-stop provider when they come in. I would also like to mention that the Arizona Department of Education is currently has submitted a new RFGA, a request for a Title II provider for Mojave-La Paz counties, a face-to-face provider. As you all may or may not know, Yavapai College Adult Basic Education is currently the virtual adult education learning provider. Due to additional funding for this fiscal year, the Department of Education is also looking to have a face-to-face provider, which is what they did in the past. Previously, it was Mojave Community College. I'm not sure who is actually going to apply for this RFGA. I have spoken to someone from Arizona Western College, and they are preparing an RFGA application. That's all the news I have. Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you very much. Title III, Mr. Deemer.
Can everybody hear me? So we have got a new BSR for the state from Mojave County. It is Jason Millen. Sorry, I took the one-stop operator. No, I'm
comment.
I'm not. So he is our new business service representative for Mojave and La Paz County. We currently have the local veteran employment representative position is vacant, and as soon as I get approval, I will start the hiring process on that position. Jason has got 4 hiring events coming up in the next month. 3 for Geo Group, 1 at each of our Bullhead, Kingman, and Havasu locations. And he is working currently on doing a construction hiring event at the fairgrounds in Kingman in August. We don't have a set date yet on that, but he is working on that to do a collaboration with all the construction companies in Kingman.
Great update. Thank you very much. And Jason loves it, so he's rubbing our noses in it. Title IV.
Good morning. I don't have anything additional to report. Nothing at this time.
All right, thank you. So then it's on me for the chairman's report. So a lot of activity since our last board meeting. Can't say enough about the program. Big transition, a lot of moving parts, a lot of open spots, but still moving forward and servicing people. Communication has just increased. I look forward to the new trainings and implementations that Sarah has put into place. The buy-in from her staff is about 3 times what it was a couple of years ago. People are really on board. They've changed the way they're hiring, and you can see it every day. A lot of positive energy, and I commend Sarah, burning the candle at both ends right now. So hopefully she gets those last couple of vital positions filled so that she can take a break for a minute. Kind of falling back on what Director Smith said earlier about the training in Las Vegas. I've had a chance to meet with one of the instructors, and I've gone through a little bit of the training online. We just can't stop learning, and the more we learn, the better we are as a team. I really look forward to the opportunities with the new data collection. Data. It's so key to be able to do continuous improvement. If you don't know where you are, you don't know how to get where you're going. So I commend the Director Smith and Sarah on getting this pushed forward. I'm getting feedback from other people around the state already, possibly having a chance to highlight this during the convening December 8th in Phoenix. What a tremendous opportunity there, but it doesn't just help the program. It helps every core partner and every community partner, because if you now have a centralized place for your data, it's just going to improve everybody. So great job on that. Officially we are not in a recession as of this morning. According to the definition, for 100 years we are, but according to the new definition that came out last Friday, we're not. And I hear, I'm sure just like you do, unemployment's at 3.6%. Well, maybe it is in the country, but it isn't in Mojave County. I'll tell you that right now. It's 8 or 9%. And the labor participation rate in Mojave County is 20 points lower than the state average and 30 points lower than the national average. So all I know is we've got to find these people where they're at. We've got to bring them services. The more technology we address, the better the program is going to be. Kudos to the program for being the most transparent I've ever seen it. And, going to monthly reconciliation, thinking forward, we've got to get out there. We've got to get these people, I know Director Smith said this the last meeting. We have this workforce that has disappeared, the hidden workforce. I saw a stat the other day from the state. Mojave County has 230,000 people. 91,000 are supposed to be in the workforce, right? Because we have a retiring population, we have a lot of young people. So 91 out of 230 are in the workforce. Our labor participation rate is 46.6%. That means that of the 91,000, only 45,000 of them are actually working. But that's not really true, is it? Because they're working at Uber, Lyft, DoorDash. They're working under the table on a construction site, right? So we know that there's not 45,000 people living in their grandma's basement. There might be 20,000. But how do we get to those people? How do we re-engage them? How do we talk about the future? Like Director Smith has said in the past, zip code shouldn't dictate your outcome. And, we've got to get these people pulled back in the workforce. They might be surviving today, but I'll tell you a quick personal story. My mom is 71 years old. She owned her own business and then did real estate for a combination of 40 years. Her Social Security check is $671, and she lives in Prescott. That doesn't even pay her due fees for her HOA in the mobile home park that she now lives in after having to sell her $600,000 house because she couldn't afford to live in that anymore. So I know we're doing it. I know career coaches are talking about it, short-term win, but long-term goals, so I applaud the program for what it does every day. It's been an honor to volunteer on this board. And I appreciate all your time and effort. I know that, like the core managers meeting, we've had a real rough time getting everybody together. And, I'll just end on this, first of all, it's a requirement for us to do those, but it's a way for the information to come from the top down. So I really look forward to, everyone's participation in those core manager meetings moving forward. Until there's a one-stop operator, Rachel has agreed to put together the meeting for the last Tuesday of every month. If you can't be present, please have a designee present, or if we need to get together as a group and change that time, because to me, that's the most vital monthly meeting that we have, because when it comes from the top down, there's the buy-in so much better. So once again, thank you all for your time and your volunteering and, you know, being part of this. We are making a difference, you know, and, you know, yes, we gave money back to the state, but like Director Smith said, and we were reassured, I was on the call with the state, you know, that money's staying in the state, and that money can come back to us in a different form, you know, to help out with other programs. So just continue doing what we're doing, and thank you all for your hard work.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me? Good morning, everybody. This is Kendra Robinson from Allo Communication. I just want to do a couple of really quick new market dates for Allo for the people that are interested. In Lake Havasu, we've actually moved out our go live date. At this point, we're going, first customer date will be December 2nd. We're going to go live in December 23rd. Kingman, actually, a test customer will be November 8th, and we're going to go live November 29th. We have identified our storefront, which is at the old Sears building downtown by the old Safeway. We will be occupying that as of October 9th in Kingman. And Lake Havasu, it's on Acoma. We're going to be occupying that as of August 15th. So just a couple of updates. Hopefully those dates will stick. Again, with anybody in Kingman interested at Allo, we're going to go live on November 29th and Lake Havasu on December 23rd. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else on Workforce Development Board announcements? Yeah, it has to slide all the
I
way
just
up.
wanted to correct my report because I was way off. We had 64 students between MCC, AWC, and Creative Care, 295 credits, and the 7 students at Creative Care each did 170 hours of training this summer.
Very nice. Very nice. Anybody else? Hearing none, this is called to the public. Is there anyone from the public wishing to address the board? Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned.